Greetings, citizens! You're now trapped in the Nerd Cage with your hosts Mark and Jay. We hope you have a smashing good time.
Yes, hello and welcome. That's right, you're trapped in Nerd Cage Live. This ain't just a reaction show, but a debate show and a live discussion on everything that makes people like you and I tick. So thank you for joining us today. I am your co-host, Jay St. G, coming from you live from Syracuse, New York. And always with me, my man, the Fiend from Louisville, Mark. What is shaking, boss?
Hey, what's going on, man? Just enjoying a fantastic July 4th weekend. I hope everybody out there is also enjoying it. I wanted to start off right off the top with one of my favorite actors, Mahershala Ali. We got the news the other day that he's going to be starring in a 6-part miniseries on HBO on the life of Jack Johnson. Now, I know that you and I are both huge boxing fans, so yes, I kind of wanted to get your take on it and see how you felt about this.
Well, I think this is very exciting because Joe Johnson, for those who don't know, he was he was a boxer in the early 1900s, and he was the first black heavyweight champion. So he broke new grounds in history, new grounds in boxing. Obviously no one's really been alive to tell the story right now, so this is really exciting. Mahershala, I think, is going to knock it out of the park. I cannot wait to see. I mean, he's like doing ever since the Green Book. He's been catching all this fire. He's playing Blade. He's got his other series on Hulu. I mean, he's just busy man, and I cannot wait to see him, portray this very significant historical figure, especially in times like these.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with what you just said. I mean, the guy is a superstar, well before Green Book. I mean, you talk about Moonlight and some of the other projects that he's done before. I'm actually a fan of his going way back to a show called The 4400 that used to be on the USA Network back in the early 2000s. I recognized at that time that, we had somebody that was really destined to be a big star, and he did not disappoint. Yeah. In addition to, all the things that we just kind of talked about why he'd be a good fit, one of the reasons that I think HBO really recognized how good he is for this role is that back in 2000, he was in a Broadway production of The Great White Hope, which is the story of Jack Johnson and his first wife. And he played the title character. He played Jack Johnson in that. And so I haven't gotten an opportunity to see any video of that, but I have no doubt that he killed it. And I really think that he's going to do a fantastic job in this.
Oh yes, and plus it's HBO,
right,
who was prominent for boxing way back when. Unfortunately, HBO boxing's no longer around, but there was a time where all the best fights were on HBO.
Yeah, I
remember.
Then
Floyd Mayweather left HBO boxing, and then it was pretty much down. And then Canelo Alvarez left it, and then it went downhill from there. And then Jack Lampley retired, and then then DAZN and ESPN pretty much took over, and so it's just interesting that HBO
and all that.
Yeah, and it's just interesting that HBO is taking this on, and again, they have a very good history of miniseries. So I'm absolutely ecstatic about this. Like I said, a peek on a historical figure that, I know we talk about Muhammad Ali and a few others, but this is way beyond, Ali's time. Beyond, this is huge. This is gonna be really exciting.
Yeah, going back to I think 1908, I think is when he won his first world title. Excuse me. Yeah. Adding to why I think that this is a really great move for HBO is Tom Hanks is the executive producer on this.
Oh, okay. I didn't see that.
A lot of people don't realize that, and
that makes sense because Tom Hanks, didn't he do the Band of Brothers? Didn't he produce that one too?
Yes.
Yeah.
He did that, and I think he did. Was it From the Earth to the Moon? Was the one with the astronauts? I think he was involved in that one too.
Not Apollo 13, but it was Apollo
Right, Apollo 13 was the film, but they had.
Yeah, I know, but that series was about Apollo 11 or something. I don't remember.
Yeah, I think you're right. But yeah, just having someone of that caliber attached to a project like this almost guarantees that it's going to be a slam dunk. So I for one am super excited about it. I know it's in a very early stage of development right now, so we probably won't see it until maybe 2021, maybe early 2022. Yeah. But as an HBO subscriber, I'm very glad that I've long since made that decision. Yeah. So, I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, so we can expect to see this on HBO Max, which is exciting. So transitioning and keeping it in the realm of HBO Max, with the whole Justice League Snyder Cut coming to HBO Max. I'm sure everyone's heard the news already. It's been talked about on every single entertainment site and entertainment channel. Ray Fisher has come out and retracted his comments he made during the Justice League press tour on Joss Whedon, saying, I retract everything, all the good things I said about him, and then what I said at the press meeting. And then the day later, he's saying he was, abusive on set, and yeah. It's been snowballing. The news has been snowballing every day ever since. Right. And for a lot of people that aren't familiar with it, I think it was 2017 Comic-Con where he, someone had asked him what it was like to work with Joss, and he said, oh, well, he's a great guy, and Zach couldn't have picked a better replacement. I watched and all of these things. And, just a few days ago, he kind of, posted that particular clip on Twitter, and above it says that I retract the following statement. So, he also went on to say that that Joss was incredibly unprofessional and disrespectful to everyone on the cast and crew. Kevin Smith on his show said that he had spoken with someone who worked on that film and said that that Joss Whedon was actually really disrespectful to Zack Snyder in particular, and really he was laughing about
trashed his version of trashed what was already filmed and things like that, and really just kind of shaded people that kind of worked on that part of the film. Yes. Which, if that's true, I mean, that's it's there's no words for the level of disrespect that you could have for.
I know there's more to the story, and I know people are questioning the timing. I'm gonna have to come out on Ray Fisher's defense here, because obviously he couldn't say anything. He couldn't say anything during. You can't say the things he said now during the press tour, during before the movie's out, during the movie's out, and after.
Right.
So I in defense, I understand why he waited to say it. Obviously, he was pushing for the Snyder Cut. He was probably the most vocal ones about it. And again, if he said any of these bad things, that could have prevented HBO Max and Warner Brothers from making the decision for releasing the Snyder Cut. So I understand why he waited to say it. I do. And to add to everything you just said, and I think Grace Randolph was one that talked about this, there were scenes in Justice League that Joss Whedon pushed for. For example, the scene where it was kind of a comedic moment, but I can understand why people were turned off by it. But the scene where the Flash accidentally fell on top of Diana,
right,
and then he got off of her and made that face or whatever, and
right.
And one of the things was Gal Gadot didn't want to do that scene, so that was her body double that Ezra Miller was on top of.
Right.
And then the other thing that some people threw a shit stink about, it didn't bother me, but I mean, I'm a guy, but I guess the Amazons wore more revealing outfits during the the Themyscira scenes.
Right.
That wasn't part of the Snyder's plan. That was something that Joss Whedon pushed was for the Amazons to wear more revealing armor, which revealed their entire stomachs and this and that, and
right, and that kind of goes along with some of the things that I've been kind of reading about Whedon, and there's actually a website, or it might be a Twitter page, or like a Facebook page, Facebook group that's it's called Joss Whedon is Not a Feminist, and and on that they kind of post these examples of things that Joss Whedon has done in his productions that are very misogynistic. For example, he wrote a version of a Wonder Woman script that got leaked right before Patty Jenkins kind of took over the project, and in that it kind of describes these scenes that really don't have anything to do with Diana as a character. They're just kind of like these scenes that are designed to be sexy scenes. Like there's a scene where she's like dancing or something like that, very sexily or whatever, and things like that. And then also, they talk about how Charisma Carpenter was very unceremoniously fired from the show Angel for getting pregnant. Now, I don't know the details of that. I don't know how much truth there is to it, but in her own estimation, she kind of said that looking back, once she announced that she was pregnant during the production of that show, that her professional relationship with Whedon kind of soured, and you could kind of feel that she was being written off the show.
Yeah.
So when you take those things into account and the possibility that that these things could be true, and you match those with the sort of unprofessional things that we're hearing about Justice League, it paints a very interesting picture of him.
Yeah, and he hasn't done anything since Justice League.
He really hasn't, know, and, I know that he also had, this may not have anything to do with any of the things that we just talked about, but, he kind of had a fractured relationship with Marvel as well. And so, we don't know whether or not that was because he made the actors or people on the set of those Marvel movies, uncomfortable, or if it really was what they reported, which was that he was just exhausted and it was just like there was too much for him to kind of deal with, which that never really kind of added up to me. But I'm not in that industry, so I couldn't tell you. But yeah, it's a very interesting turn of events, and I guess time will tell what actually transpired.
Yeah, absolutely. But no, and another thing too is that, and I'm not saying this has anything to do with the comments that Ray Fisher had, but one of the things was in this upcoming Zack Snyder version that Cyborg has a much, much, much bigger role.
Right.
And he's like the revolving, like he's like the center of the story, which makes sense because he's powered by the mother box, so it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then when Joss Whedon came along, he pretty much shoved, Cyborg to the side, made him more like a sidekick, and he really wasn't that well developed, and that wasn't part of Snyder's initial vision. So.
Right. What I'm curious about is, I've heard like kind of conflicting reports about like what actually happened after Snyder left. Right. So I'd heard a couple of, from a couple different sources that Snyder was being looked at by Warner Brothers, and they weren't very happy with, Man of Steel. They weren't happy with Batman v Superman. They really didn't want him for Justice League to begin with. And that Greg Silverman actually pushed for him to remain the director, up until, Zach's daughter passed away and he had that tragedy and he had to leave. So I've heard that version of the story, but recently I heard that that wasn't the case, and that when Whedon came in, that he actually took a look at Snyder's footage of what he had, so, the assembly cut of what he had, and just didn't like it, and decided on his own to kind of take the wheel and kind of change things. Yeah. So I'm really curious to know what actually really did happen. Thinking about it, I almost wish they would come out with a making of, like, almost like how with the Mandalorian, they had, like a 4-part series that kind of that kind of broke down the making of that show. I would love to see a series that kind of just everything from start to finish. You get like a full picture. That would of what probably really happened.
Be more interesting than the Snyder Cut itself.
I think so. Like I still want to see the Snyder Cut, but I really want to see what happened behind the scenes.
Even even if any of those cast members wrote a book about them, oh my God, like imagine how much that would sell and how much we would hear about it.
I'd buy it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Right. So moving on, but keeping it in the realm of DC, we just found out recently that Harley Quinn seasons 1 and 2 are going to be moving to HBO Max very soon. Yeah. And so that's pretty interesting news, I think, considering that DC Universe has been having so many issues lately, from having the canceled Swamp Thing series to DC Daily finally ending and things like that. Doom Patrol going to HBO Max, although you still can watch it on DC Universe. Yeah. Stargirl going to CW. It kind of paints a picture that we may be losing DC Universe. But I'm not really sure. I think there may be some other factors at play, but what do you think about it?
I just feel like HBO, I just think they should just move the whole, thing into, HBO Max, and then maybe it's not so much the content and the shows and stuff. It's more so like, all right, well, they got one of the main things about that app is you can read all the old comics. Right. That's really the main question. I'm wondering, here's what I think they should do. I think they should move all the shows to HBO Max, maybe lower the price of the DC app and just keep the comics in there, and maybe DC app should get first dibs on the shows, like Harley Quinn and Titans and all that. They should get first dibs, but they should go to HBO Max eventually. Right. For those who spend the extra $5 a month, whatever it is, whatever it costs now, that they want all the comics and the DC dailies and this and that. I mean, I just feel like the two. I think HBO Max and DC app are like this now. They're like they're stuck together. I mean, to have them separate. Paying for two separate services is almost bizarre. So,
and I'm with you with that. I have a feeling that we're going to lose DC Universe, but not really because HBO Max came along. I mean, I know that that's the popular consensus, but I think that they were having trouble since day one. It's really been poorly managed. They have a great amount of curated content. A lot of the old shows from the 70s and 80s that are DC related. They have virtually every, Warner Brothers franchised film, on there.
And the documentaries are in there are really good too.
Yeah, I highly recommend. There's a short docuseries called The Batman, which is it's not narrated, but it's it's a series of interviews with the late Denny O'Neil and with Neil Adams. I'm sorry, I keep blanking on people's names, but Neil Adams, who actually did the artwork for Batman in the 70s. So it's basically about how they evolved that character from the 60s to the character that we now know. And anyway, that's a great series. But that aside, they've really stumbled to kind of find their footing, right? I read this article from a financial analyst that kind of talked about what they would need to become, a viable streaming service. And what they said was that they would need a minimum of 14 million subscribers with no attrition at the price point that they're at. And they're not anywhere near that. They're probably somewhere around 10, maybe less than 10. And as people's memberships...
That ain't though.
What's that?
I I mean, that's not a bad number though.
Well, you got to consider the all the financials that go into it, right? So you've got to think about the fact that, like, you know, every series that they create, every original series that they create, is production costs are about $20 million, $20 to $30 million. So you've got to add on top of that marketing costs and, you know, tech costs and things like that to keep the channel and the app viable. So, you know, when you add all that in and then you look at how cheap the membership is, you know, it's like $4.99 a month. I think it's, well, I take it back. I think it's $6.99 a month or $70 per year or something like that. I'm not 100% sure on that.
Yeah, I don't even remember. I paid for it annually, and I'm on my second year. So
right. So most people pay for it for a year, and what they're finding is that when that year's up, people are not renewing, right? Because now there's HBO Max, and you can watch a lot of that stuff on HBO Max. You can watch Harley Quinn on Sci-Fi. At least season 1 you can watch on Sci-Fi. You know, season 1 and 2 are going to be going to HBO Max. You know, probably when they debut season 3, that'll go straight to HBO Max. And so what is the real benefit to having both of those services, right? So, yeah, I kind of think that they're really not in an area of stability, of sustainability. And I think it's just a matter of time before they kind of shut it down.
Yeah, that'll be a damn shame.
Right.
We'll have to wait and see what happens. Okay, I'm sorry. I totally lost my phone just went off on me, and I lost my. Excuse me for a moment here. I don't mean to hold up the broadcast here. My gosh,
Answer it later.
No, it's just my screen. My screen went black. My screen went black, and I had to get my screen back up. All right, so.
All right.
Okay, so keep it in the realm of streaming shows. Now, I find this good news. A lot of people find it bad, and some people are shocked by this news. Some people are upset by it. I'm not upset by it whatsoever. But it's announced that Netflix is doing one final season of Ozark.
Yes.
And I'm good with that. And here's why. End it when the show is still good.
Exactly.
No need to drag it on multiple seasons of bad seasons. Okay, I'm just gonna take 3 similar shows in the same these crime shows here. I'm just gonna pick 3 of my favorite ones. The Sopranos. Okay, The Sopranos, you could argue, went too long. There were the last few seasons were bad. Okay, there's no defending it. Sons of Anarchy, love that show. They had a number of stinker seasons. And then Breaking Bad ended it at 6 seasons, and the whole thing was great. All 6 seasons were great. The Sopranos went on for what, 9 seasons?
Something like that. It went on too long, in my opinion.
Yeah, Sons of Anarchy went 8 seasons. I always felt like good shows don't need to have, The Walking Dead's already in, they're well beyond 10 seasons now. We don't need some of these shows to go on for 8, 9, 10 seasons. There's nothing wrong with just doing 4 seasons if all 4 seasons are great. So by this news, I'm okay with it, and I'm happy with it that they're. So if as long as this final season is just as good as the 3rd season was, you're ending it on a high note as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and to be frank, I'm really surprised that they're even getting a 4th season. Not that the show isn't great, because it's one of my favorite shows. I think I've talked about it in the past. But Netflix has a history of ending even their most popular series at 3 seasons. It seems to be the cutoff point for most of their shows. You look at the Santa Clarita Diet, you look at what's another one? Daredevil, which was, there were other things at play, but I think
I was going to say there was more. Yeah, there was a lot of factors that came into the play.
Yeah, I think they were still planning to end that at 3. And I'm not really sure why. Maybe at 3 seasons, there's like more like contract renegotiations or things like that. Maybe that's a reason. Oh, or maybe it's just like you said, maybe they're just like, we want to like go out while these shows are still hot, so they're memorable. So we have that as a memorable property. Who knows? But personally, when I found out that we were getting a 4th season of Ozark, I was excited, but very, very surprised at it. So, the fact that this is going to be their final season, I think is a good move for the reasons that you mentioned.
Yeah.
And, just because just because the story ends now as far as a series, that doesn't mean that later on we can't get a full-length feature film or something like that down the line. So
look at The Sopranos. They got a movie coming out, a prequel.
Exactly. Exactly. You look at some of these other properties that had long-running series like Entourage. There were 2 movies. Sex and the City. There was 2 movies. So
X-Files.
Right. Breaking Bad. El Camino. So I think that it probably is the right move for them to kind of cut it off at 4. And, I expect, not that I know anything or anything like that, but I expect one of the main characters to die in the end, to kind of be the...
We will see.
That's my prediction.
I'm still blown away by the never mind, I don't want to get into spoilers. If you ever watch it, I hate to spoil anything for anybody, but I'm trying to pull my parents' legs right now. I'm telling Mom, Mom, Dad, you guys have to watch this show. I pulled their leg when it came to Breaking Bad. They caved in. Maybe I can get them to cave in for Ozark. I've been pushing on my dad lately. They finally got, they finally have my Netflix account so they can watch it. So
yeah.
As for anyone who hasn't seen it, I'm glad everybody on Facebook, I just want to say thank you for convincing me to watch it, because I absolutely loved it, and I'm trying to do the same for my parents. So
yeah, it's easily the best thing that Jason Bateman has ever done.
Oh yeah.
And I think that cast all the way around, I think is phenomenal. You've got Laura Linney in there. The guy that plays her brother in season 3 is my favorite character. Like he
definitely threw a wrench into everything.
He was perfect. Yeah. He's perfect for the role, and it's like, not to get into any spoilers or anything.
Yeah, I know. I don't want, like I said, I don't want to dare spoil it for anybody.
Yeah, I'm being very, very careful. But, like, it was one of those shows that it wasn't like it necessarily like grabbed me like right from season 1 or anything like that. But, as it built, as it went on, it started to build and become more intense and more intense and more intense till you get to season 3 where you're just like, I can't stop watching this show. Yeah. And so, the cast that they picked for this, I think, was absolutely perfect. And, again, I really can't wait for this final season.
Absolutely. I'm totally with you on that one. And, it will be disappointing if it's a dull season, but, one bad season out of 4, still pretty good. But no, I have hopes. I have expectations that this 4th and final season will be good.
Right. Me too. So, recently you gave me a couple of films to review, and, these were movies that you had seen in the theater that I didn't get a chance to see because of the pandemic. So they finally made their way to VOD, and some of them have not. Some of the ones that you've picked that I've watched, I've just been like, why did you waste my time like that? But one of the movies that you recommended that I watched the other day was, you couldn't have recommended a better movie for me, and that was Bad Boys for Life. I loved everything about this movie, and I didn't think that I would, right? So I saw the trailers when it was about to come out. I saw the trailers, and I really just thought it was kind of like a rehash, like, oh, it's like a cash.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you. I wasn't impressed with the trailers either when they first. But I was still excited, and I was still planning on seeing, because I've been such a fan of the first 2 movies. Nothing was gonna stop me from seeing the 3rd movie, and I went and saw it opening night. Absolutely enjoyed it. Again, this is one of those rare instances where the part 3 is actually pretty good.
Yeah, I'd say it's more than pretty good. I think they did a really good job of sort of updating the franchise and kind of making it more today, but at the same time keeping it on brand and keeping it, keeping those characters the same.
And it wasn't Michael Bay either.
First two, yeah, which is a good thing.
They gave him a cameo.
Right.
The scene at the wedding, which I thought that was pretty funny, and I was like, I was probably the only one in the theater that recognized him. I went over to my buddy. I'm like, you know who that was, right? I was like, that was Michael Bay.
Right. And there were some very like Bay-esque kind of scenes in it where, it was kind of like, you roll your eyes a little bit, but at the same time, it's like you kind of miss that about like 90s action movies and early 2000s action movies. So
and that's where he shined was those movies like The Rock and Bad
right. Mm-hmm. Transformers.
I didn't care for Transformers, but those 90s action movies that he did, I enjoyed.
Sure.
This third movie, again, they, like you said, it's still consistent, but they did, they modernized it. And,
right. Yeah.
And of course,
go ahead.
Given how old those guys are, Will Smith and Martin Lawrence, where they are at their career, it made sense.
Sure. And I think that they made the right decision as far as writing that aspect of it into the story, right? I kind of got notes of like Lethal Weapon 4 in a way, right? So like, you have the scene with, Martin Lawrence's daughter having a baby, which is very like on par with Danny Glover, and his daughter being pregnant in Lethal Weapon 4. You have them struggling with the fact that they're becoming older and what does that mean? Can we keep doing what we're doing? Maybe we should retire, like that kind of stuff. And, being, a man of a certain age myself, I kind of identify with some of that, so, I really enjoyed that aspect of that. And I think that they did it in a way that wasn't forced, that felt very natural, that, where you could see that these were two guys that had spent decades working together and had become best friends, and what that friendship meant going forward if one of them decides that they don't want to do this anymore.
And speaking of decades of working together, Will Smith has been pretty prominent, pretty active in Hollywood. Still in fantastic shape. He'll be better. He's in much better shape. I'll never be in Will Smith's shape. I mean, I props to that man. But Martin Lawrence has been out of the spotlight a long time. Mm-hmm. And the fact that he was able to come back pretty much out of retirement, I mean, I can't think of anything he's been in since, Big Mama House 3, which was terrible, by the way. But Martin Lawrence has been gone a long time. But when he comes back for this movie, they felt like they didn't miss a beat. That the two of them, the chemistry was still there.
Exactly. And I think that they have a natural chemistry that I don't think that you can fake, really. I think that, when you get two guys like that together, or you get Mel Gibson and Danny Glover, or Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker, like, there's something there that is natural that gets, presented on screen, where we can tell that these guys are really having a good time, and we want to have a good time with them. And so, I just really thought, it was great all the way around, even, the team that was around them, I think they called Ammo, you had some, you had some, and
it was necessary. It was necessary to have them in there because, again, kind of what we touched upon in one of our previous shows is, it's not like passing up the torch, but you gotta have, you got these older characters. They need good characters around them to keep keep things going,
Mm-hmm. You had a great villain too, in Kate Del Castillo. Mm-hmm. Some people might recognize her as the lead actress in a show. It was a novella called Reina del Sur, or Queen of the South. We have an American version of Queen of the South. She was the star of the original, and she was also, I don't know the entire story, but she was sort of also involved in the capturing of El Chapo. El Chapo was actually a big fan of hers.
Okay.
He invited her to his compound, and that was one of the ways that they were able to find out where he was. And so, you know, that has nothing to do with this film, but but you know, shout out to her. I mean, she's an amazing actress, great with action, you know. Yep. And I think that it kind of gave us a little bit different element, you know, as far as a villain goes, you know, with this franchise. Kind of added a new spice to it. I won't say any more.
Yeah, we can't. Yeah, yeah. If you give anything away, we'll spoil the whole movie for you.
Yeah,
highly recommend it. Again, it breaks the Part 3 curse. It's just as good as the other two. It's action packed. It's very enjoyable, and the laughs are still there.
Yes.
I enjoyed myself a lot. The movie did not disappoint. And it was recently announced that they did leave it open for Part 4. And Will Smith and Martin Lawrence did, in fact, sign a contract to do one more movie.
All right.
So that'll be exciting. I mean, I wasn't asking for a fourth movie, but if the script works, why the hell not? And now we're hearing rumblings of a possible Bad Boys 4 / Beverly Hills Cop 4 crossover. It's been rumored for a couple of weeks now. Will it happen? Who knows? Personally, I think it could work. I'll just put my spin on it real quick. Most of these Bad Boys movies, it's about these criminals in the city of Miami. I don't think it'd be that hard to have some kind of crime lord that's involved in Miami and involved in Beverly Hills, so that way that the cases can cross. You know, and you can see the Will Smith, Martin Lawrence, and Eddie Murphy all working together. Certainly possible. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see that. You know, at this point, I honestly think that it's a rumor. I don't really see anything that points to that really being in development, other than I think there was like a photo of all of them on set one day. You know, like the 3 of them on set one day. But aside from that, I don't think that rumor has any real legs. But that said, if they were to make it, I would not be mad about that. You know, Those are two of my favorite franchises. You know, I've loved Axel Foley since I was like 13 years old, wanted to be him, you know. And then when Bad Boys came out, and Bad Boys 2, I love both of those films, and now this new one, you know, if they
Eddie Murphy still looks good too.
Right. Well, they all do. I think they're all in great enough shape to revise these characters. Well, you know, considering
needs to hit the gym.
Well, considering like the role that they have for him now, and kind of the way that he played in this last one, I think it's pretty fitting. So it's not like he really needs to be in, you know, I Am Legend shape or anything like that. He doesn't need to be on par with Will Smith in that way, unless they write it into the script that they, you know, that they really both, you know, have to do a lot of action, especially since they have this team behind them now, this ammo and everything like that behind them now. If they're written into the fourth film, I think they can do most of the action. If you know what I mean, having, you know, aside from, you know, maybe Will Smith or Eddie Murphy doing something here and there, but you know, like I said, if they really decide that this is going to be a real thing, you know, I'm here for it.
It's just funny because going off topic a little bit, but at one point, the third Men in Black, well, not third, but the new Men in Black movie was supposed to cross over with 21 Jump Street. That was actually supposed to happen. Thank God it didn't.
How would that work? How would that even work?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like that, I'm glad it didn't happen. I feel it, but in this case, this is a rare case where that could work, because it's two different cities, two different cops. It's not, like I said, I don't feel it's beyond, you know, I think it would work personally. Right.
I think it could very easily work, and you know, it's almost like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you have two hit franchises that could very easily go together.
Yeah.
And I think they're both Universal, right?
Yeah, I think Bad Boys was originally Columbia, and then it started off with Columbia, and then it moved. I believe it moved.
Okay. Yeah, I might be mistaken, but I thought they were coming out of the same studio. So, actually, I take that back. I think Beverly Hills Cop was Paramount, if I remember. Yeah, I think it's Paramount. But
someone in the comments will know.
Yeah, someone knows way more than us. So if you're watching this and you happen to know, hit us up in the comments.
Yeah,
let us know, educate us.
Absolutely.
You know?
Well, yeah, I think either way, if Bad Boys 4 happens, great. If Bad Boys 4 happens with Beverly Hills Cop 4, great. I'm good either way. We'll see how it turns out for sure.
Right.
All right. So I guess that being said, again, Marks, thanks for joining me. It was a lot of fun. There was a lot of cool topics to talk about.
It's always fun.
Everyone, I just want to say thanks for all the support. We're having a lot of fun doing this. We'll be doing our first live cast soon. No official announcement yet, but the live webcast is coming. We're still trying to work out the kinks. But for everyone who's been supporting the show, thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Yes. Please subscribe. We want them subscribers. We want people to come to the show. We're having so much fun doing it, and I'm loving the feedback right now.
Right. And please comment. Please let us know, what you like about the show, what you don't like about the show.
We got thick skin. We can handle it.
Yeah, we got a thick skin. We're doing this show for you. It's for us. We like getting together and kind of talking about movies and giving our reviews, giving our point of view. But it's really, we want you guys to enjoy the show, and we'd love to hear your feedback. We want to know, what we can do better and how we can
what
make
you want
this
us to
type of
talk
show
about.
you want.
We're open to suggestions. Whatever you want us to talk about, we'll talk about it.
Right.
So that being said, before we go, we ask you to pretty please like, comment, ring that bell, spread this shit like syphilis. Please subscribe. So the USA, from Louisville to Syracuse to all of our friends and fans around the world at NerdCage Live. Enjoy life, stay safe, and good night.
Sayonara.
Ooh, trying to get out of the nerd cage, are ya? Well, before you go, hit that subscribe button. And if you're really intrigued, ring that bell. Thank you for dropping by. Until next time, tell everyone you know about NerdCage Live!